Hey, you guys, what's up? It's your girl, Ashley Tamar, and I'm a little nervous because I thought of this idea last year in celebration of 10 years from my first album, My Name is Tamar, and putting out a new project. Could not realize it's been 6 years since I put out a project, like a full album. And when it dawned on me from you, the supporters, that it was 10 years this year from My Name is Tamar, I was like, I've got to go big or go home. And so we started a campaign called 31 Days of Ashley. And one of those campaigns that I had in mind was to do a town hall meeting about topics that I have not been hearing about now that I am in a new position as a music supervisor for a brand new show that's coming out on HBO Max in May. And so I started putting pen to paper, creating these ideas and working with my team. We finally decided, let's do a town hall, because I didn't get chosen for South by Southwest. And one of my topics was called Post-Pandemic Production, Death by Algorithm. And we were talking about how the aggregators and the algorithms, and I started looking at documentaries on Netflix, like The Social Dilemma. And I was like, wow, it's not a lot for us artists. There's not much going for us. There's more things going against us than for us. And in the age of technology, we're actually kind of losing ground outside of gaining ground. And of course, things are changing with Bitcoin and blockchain and all that stuff. I may be saying that completely wrong. But at the end of the day, as an artist and a creative and as a businesswoman who has had to morph and bend and weave in and out and say, okay, hands up, and let's get back in and reinvent myself and circumvent and navigate, I came down with the understanding of, now that being in this new position, there's a lot of things that we have not really been talking about, which is sync and licensing and knowing how to get your songs placed really in TV and film, and where what I've found in this position, where a lot of the issues are lying, which is in the small things, is just having your contact information correct on ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, or any of the PROs. And so I wanted to invite some amazing friends that hold a dear place in my heart, that are just great people, but have accomplished so much. And so here it is, my first town hall meeting, post-pandemic production, Death by Algorithm. Hey, you guys. So I have known this lady for a very short time, but her name is Lisa Macy. She's a 19-year sync industry vet who works at MOJO Music. And she did something that I rarely see, which is she pushed her catalog towards me in reference to going after one song. And she said, hey, you might consider this. So please welcome my new friend, Miss Lisa Macy.
Thanks, Ashley.
Yes. And then we have this guy I've known since my Prince years. He's like a big brother. Every time I come to New York or came to anywhere on tour, he was right there. I wouldn't say he was on the front row, but he was there supporting me. He started from the bottom. Now he's here. He started at Cobalt as the VP of Creative. And what was so crazy is he was telling me about Cobalt before he actually took it from here to here. And now he is he joined Empire as the VP of Creative Worldwide Publishing. He's taking that company from the ground up because they are just now launching their publishing arm. Please welcome my big brother, Mr. Al Butter McLean. And then last but not least, I have to say, this guy I've known since college, USC Trojans, not University of Southern California. It is the home of the Trojans in Los Angeles, California. Never knowing in a million years I would be on tour with Motown the Musical, the first national tour. And he was performing at one of the biggest festivals in Chicago. I found out, I don't know how I even texted him or contacted him. But anyways, he invited me. I was there, and it was the conversation after his amazing performance that had us all on our feet. Aloe Blacc has the most powerful story in the world about how one of his biggest songs to me to date has been synced from Europe, UK, Australia, Germany, and in the United States. His name is Aloe Blacc.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me. Good to see you.
All right, so we're going to start with Aloe Blacc's powerful story about I need a dollar, 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 that's what I need. He is, he started from, Aloe, take it away. Just tell them the story.
Okay, well, it starts, I Need a Dollar was a song that I wrote after I got laid off from my corporate gig as a business consultant. So after graduation at USC, Trojans, I went into corporate America, and I worked for a couple of years, but I wasn't living my passion. And luckily, they laid me off, so I had the opportunity to follow my dreams. And instead, I figured I'd just focus on music until I have to get another job. I'd grown up making hip hop music, so I learned from hip hop the songs that I was sampling from were really inspiring, and I wanted to write songs like the people I was sampling. Eventually, I got after I got laid off, I got signed to an indie label called Stone's Throw, and that label gave me an opportunity to record a throwback album, an album where I was paying homage to my heroes in soul music that I've been sampling forever, Bill Withers and Al Green, Otis Redding. And I Need a Dollar was a song that I put on that album, but it was a lyric and an idea I had in the back of my head for years, until I got into the studio with the producers that I was working with, the musicians, and they were jamming on a funky soul track, and I threw those lyrics right on top. Just like in hip hop, I'm always writing lyrics. You mix and match your lyrics to whatever beats work the best, and that's what I did. Luckily, the manager for those musicians had a relationship with a music supervisor who was looking for a song to sync with the theme and opening credits to a TV show called How to Make It in America. And that show, unfortunately, did not make it in America, but it was popular everywhere else. It was popular in Europe, and I had the opportunity to have my music played on a really cool indie radio station in Paris, which then started a whole trend of the pop stations wanting to play my song. And from France, then Germany heard it and wanted to play it on their pop stations. Then England wanted to play it on their pop stations, and it happened all across the world, which then led to Simon Fuller, the guy who created the American Idol and the Pop Idol franchise, and he famously signed the Spice Girls to his management. He found me and wanted to sign me, and his relationship with Jimmy Iovine at Interscope led to me getting signed to Interscope, which then at the time Interscope was also courting Avicii, and we were able to meet and collaborate, and that's where we created Wake Me Up. So the I Need a Dollar story walks me straight into this other story of Wake Me Up, which, both of those songs were huge, opportunities for me to be a writer in the songwriting world. Lucky I was also the artist that got to present the music as well.
Okay, everybody, that's Aloe Blacc. If you're not inspired by that story, then I don't know who would ever inspire you from that, to all creatives. Okay, so can you guys let's talk real, okay? Let's talk about things that I'm seeing from the music supervision side, and then from the publishing side, and Aloe from the artistic side. How have you guys noticed if a song does not have all the proper credentials? For example, in my world, I was trying to license a song. Number one, I still have not heard back from them. Text them and everything. They responded via text, but no emails. And the song is huge on TikTok. So that's flag number one. But the other thing was, I found another song. The song added up to 100.04%. And I was like, we can't license this song. Where's the other 0.4%? And when they tried to explain it, it was like, oh, that's my friend Tim, he on the song. And I'm like, well, you guys, the song has to equate 100%. So do you have any stories of first count information, first count experiences where the song has been just a doozy to either get it synced for your client, or trying to trace down the proper percentages, or who's the writer? Can any of you guys speak to that?
So I think a live case, I would say, I was part of Blame It on the Alcohol. There's a song by T-Pain. There has to be like 15 writers on this song. And it took every single publisher in the world to actually finally get this song to a point where everyone owned 100% of this record. So there's emails for years and months going by trying to get everybody to agree to the percentage that they owned on this song. I don't know if that answered the question, but it happens every day. Every song that is written by more than a few people will end up in some dispute unless it's done the old-fashioned way, which Aloe Blacc took, is everybody's equal. But you never know. In a session, somebody may say something during the session and they take credit for it later when it's starting to blow up. Then the people, the engineer wants something, the manager wants something, and after a while, it really gives the one song, it puts the one song in an issue so that it cannot be licensed to sing, film, TV, or any other place, so that the song can make money or be distributed properly. I hope that answered the question. Or
no, that was amazing. That was absolutely amazing. You nailed it. I don't want to interject right now. I want to hear Lisa's standpoint on something that she's noticed, but no, you answered it to a T. That was perfect.
Well, yeah, I think that I luckily don't have to deal with the splits until somebody puts in a request. And most of the time, by the time I'm dealing with it, the splits are established and they're in our system. It's not always true, but I mean, that's the nightmare, is when you have a missing percentage or you have over 100% and you can't figure out where the math goes wrong. For us, most everything that we sign has, we have a ear towards sync. So we don't sign a lot of deals where there could be a lot of percentages missing or in jeopardy. So that's not a thing that I have to deal with very often. I will say, I was thinking about it. I worked at RCA and Jive back in the day, and we did have one. I think we had Mark Ronson in one of the songs. I think it was an Amy Winehouse song. I don't even remember, but I was trying to get it cleared, and we had part of the master, and then there was another 100%. This was a song with 300%. There was 100% of the publishing, 100% of the master, and there was a separate master that was 100%, meaning like it was a master sample or something. And I was like, wait, are there 300%? I can't even hardly do this when it's just two sides of 100%. What is happening? But we worked it out, because we had, once somebody wants a song, they'll fight for it. And I always am there to help. So it can get complicated and confusing. But at least at MOJO, we really try to sign things with an ear towards getting them placed. And that can't happen when they're a quick claim or they're, a lot of other, disputes. I will say that as soon as I started in this business, I learned the saying, success has 1,000 mothers and failure is an orphan, meaning like any song that's a success, people want a piece of it. And then anything where, you can't get invested with it, they're like, oh, I didn't have anything to do with that. But believe me, when it's a popular song or somebody's hot on the track, everybody comes out of the woodwork like, oh, I contributed. It's like, I don't think that's true, maybe.
It's very scary to be on this side of the publishing world. And you guys know, because you're in the publishing world, and Aloe, you're an artist. Is there a way you can speak to when is the best time to get those song splits completed? I mean, thanks to Al McLean, I go to songsplits.com.
I was going to say, yeah, it took, it has to be a process of a company like songsplits.com to help the songwriters get courage enough to take that process on, because it's a negotiation between people you may or may not know. And sometimes it could mess up the creative vibe. And most of the time, the creators don't want to deal with it. It's funny enough that I tell my writers and artists, I say, look, if you're not ready for the song business, there's two things you can do. You can sit on the corner and just sing with your hat, and hopefully people pay you. Or you could sign over all the songs to me and I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. So then everybody goes, no, I want to do my business. Like I say, okay, the first step in the music business is to do your splits. Because once you do your splits, you recognize your creation as a business or a document that can be earned, or it's your revenue stream. So without knowing who else is on the title of your creation, you're not in business yet. So it's very important to do your splits. It's the creation of the music business, actually.
Anybody else want to chime in on that? When
I would say as an artist, it's and as a businessman, I like to be sure that I can have those kind of open conversations with another artist early. Sometimes it's just understood when you're in the room with two other people that you'll split a song 3 ways. Now, when it gets to a situation where those other artists want to add in extra producers and other writers, I say, you know, number one, I don't necessarily mind, but you're responsible from your portion from that original writing. You're responsible then to divide your portion with those new people. The only issue with that is once you have new people involved in the song, then exactly what you guys were saying, it gets harder because when you have too many publishers to license something, it gets harder for answers. I know when I get an email from my publisher or anybody looking for a song, they get an answer within 24 hours, if not 1 hour, because I just either approve it or I say, well, what do you want to sync it with? Send me a video so I can see and make sure you're not putting my voice next to something I don't want my voice next to, or my lyric next to something I don't want it next to. So handle it right away, or make sure you have that understanding while you walk into the room, you know?
Yeah.
Lisa, I see you shaking your head. I know.
I'm like,
I want you to talk first before I say something to what he just said.
I'm just amazed. It's like, even when the sync, you know, calls or emails are coming through and I'm like, hey, I'm bringing you an opportunity, you would be surprised how much chasing I have to do. I mean, chasing to get any kind of an answer, no is fine. I'm never like going to pressure somebody into it, but like even sometimes getting a response, it takes a lot of legwork. So I was just like, oh, Aloe, can't I just call you for all my approvals? Because that sounds amazing. You know, it's like, just know, you know, he knows what he wants. He knows what he doesn't want. And he wants to chime back in because that really helps me do my job. And then that helps the music supervisor do their job. And the whole thing is like, I'm in service. This is like a service job. So I'm in service to my writers and my company and music supervisors. And even if it's a no, at least if I get a quick no, that releases them to then move on to whatever. It's not going to be a no for Aloe, hopefully too often, but you know, so I was just like, oh, that's dreamy. That sounds great.
So what do you guys say though to that? Because I've noticed in this position, there's 2 songs that I've still not heard back from this day, but they are TikTok sensations, right? And that's another thing that I've found. Some of the artists' names are IBQXYZ, and then you're trying to find their real name on social media. And when you find their names don't pop up in Songview. I mean, so what can you guys say to that? Because if I say it, I'm going to sound like mean. So maybe one of you guys can talk to from Aloe, I'll start with you. What can you say to a fellow artist today? I get it. We're all creative and avant-garde and out of the box and thinking very space and futuristic. But can you speak to artists right now about why that's not going to help the new artists coming up, maybe?
I think a lot of people don't know what they don't know. So in order to educate them to even be in the realm of getting to know that they don't even know something is about proselytizing this discussion. Like this discussion that we're having right here is a very rare discussion. And for people who are in the know to start making it more present. And so that other artists can see, oh, okay, once I create a song and I put it out there and it's starting to blow up, there are ways to inform the world how to get in contact with me and to do my business properly so I can be compensated properly. Part of that is what I'm working on right now, a series of songwriting sessions that pull the curtain back to show people how songs are written. And so that it helps to, I don't know, heroize the songwriter. Songwriters don't get enough credit for what they do, but you know, there's a lot of famous people out there shaking their thing on stage, never wrote a song, picked up a pen in their life. And there are people behind the scene that made those lyrics and those emotions and all of that viable enough to get chosen by whoever artist infrastructure that said, you need to sing this song. So I want to give some credit to songwriters, and then hopefully they'll recognize their value and they will, you know, make themselves accessible when the money is knocking at their door.
Yeah,
I'm trying not to talk. I'm just. Whew.
that's big.
Uh,
I wanted to chime in really
please,
fast
please do
because
chime in.
what Aloe said and what Lisa's saying is amazing. Like, it's definitely needed, and it's to a point where songwriters don't know what they don't know, but they can know if they wanted to know.
But
So
Al, do you think that the labels, it's more of a job for them to sit down and, because the reason why I'm asking that is because even some of the major labels back in the day didn't do it either, right? So who is there a way to say who initiates that conversation? Like,
well, who initiates that conversation? I would say if you're going in to be a musician or a songwriter or an artist, you can ask your fellow your peers at first, because that's your first introduction into what you want to do. And when you decide you want to do it as a career and as a business, you go to the next step. You go to your ASCAPs or your BMIs or your CSACs. That'll be your first introduction to something organizationally real. And then you step up to this, then you step up to that. Right now, in my opinion, streaming has taken over. The majors are definitely less than in the introduction of an artist or being an artist and having a business. And kids need to learn when they upload their music, where does it go? And are they in it for fame or are they in it to earn money? You know, most in the beginning is usually fame. And then when the record blows up, then they retracting to figure out how to earn money. Right now, there's $424 million in unresolved money issues with mechanical licensing company. I don't know how much it is in streaming and how many opportunities these writers are not getting in sync because there's no license, there's no song splits, there's nothing. Kids are just uploading records and not paying attention, and they're losing the money to who? The major labels. So it's a big world turn that we have to figure out, that's a whole nother conversation.
well, before we close, I wanted to ask two more questions, but Lisa, I did want to give you a moment to chime in as well. But what Aloe and Al are saying basically is, for music supervisors, because I can speak from that perspective, to be very honest, what I found is that when you go into Songview, because they now have merged BMI and ASCAP, and they've merged them together, where I can go and look up a song. So say, for instance, Aloe's song, say it's called Love is War, and I'm going to look up his song. What everyone is saying right now is, the problem is if I go and find Love is War, or I don't find Love is War, both of those are a problem. If I find Love is War and it does not, and say, for instance, it has Aloe Blacc's name on there, right? Say Aloe Blacc's artist name is to Can Do, right? I have to do my work to find out what his real name is, go to Songview and find out his real name is Aloe Blacc. And then when I'm looking at his publishing in the splits, what they're saying is, the contact name may be wrong. It may say Lisa Macy as his contact, but it moved over to Al McLean's company at Empire. And so then if Lisa doesn't answer my calls, say, for instance, she just doesn't answer my calls, then I'm going through a whole rat race to find out who owns his publishing. And then sometimes that person may take forever to call back. Or say, for instance, the song that Aloe Blacc, Love is War, is written by 5 people. We have to go to each one of those publishers. But if one of those publishers doesn't call back, or if the artist has not signed off on it, that song does not get synced. And so what they are saying is, if you are going to write songs on TikTok today, which is going to our next question, if you're going to write these songs and just put them out, please just start with getting them registered with a PRO, which is a performance rights organization. I'll stop right there. But that's what they're saying. If you don't have that basic information, if you're not making yourself aware of having and knowing and doing and completing that basic information, what he's saying is the money that is still being unclaimed, you may be owed that, but you'll never know because you've not properly registered it. Lisa, do you want to speak to that? And then we'll move on to the final two questions.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Everything that has been said is, I completely agree. I will just add that as a publisher, that happens to us. I pitched some songs the other day that we have 100% on the publishing, thank God, but I cannot figure out who owns the masters because it's not a major. It's a label that it was 1967. So that label is gone. I can't figure out who bought them. And so it does require a lot of detective work. And, you know, thank God we have the internet, and that's the thing that makes it easier now to do that. At least at least you have kind of like treasure map that you have to follow between Songview and just, you know, you can look at TuneFind and see who used it. And then you can call that music supervisor and be like, hey dude, do you have any advice on this? But for these kids that are doing TikTok, they don't know anything about anything. I mean, God bless them, but they don't know what a PRO is. They don't know that there are two halves to a song, that there's a master and a publishing. They don't know about sample stuff. I mean, it really is, you don't know what you don't know. That's the perfect phrase for it, guys. So that's what, you know, this is a service that you're doing, is like trying to get the word out. Where do you start? And what happens if you don't start there? Because yeah, you're on the back foot. Somebody wants to use your song. They can't find you. They can't even figure out your real name. And you're missing calls that could be making you money and making you famous if that's what you're into. So it really, it is a weird world out there right now.
That is crazy. You guys, this is just blowing my mind already. So before we go, I really feel like there are two strong questions that I think we should talk about. Aloe, we'll start with you. As far as an artist, it has been a pandemic, but you come from the best school in town. So, you know, I already know you're already going to, you know, you've already known how to adapt. You know, you come from USC. What do? We pick up the pieces and keep going, and it's prime in I Need a Dollar. Where are you now creatively? What can you, this is two parts. Where are you now creatively? Did you have to adjust? I kind of think you didn't, because you making money off sync, so you didn't really have to adjust. I'm sure you missed the live world, but what have you embraced since the pandemic? One of the things I live by right now is I don't want post-pandemic to look like pre-pandemic, because pre-pandemic was crazy. I would prefer post-pandemic look completely different. So what can you say to what you've adjusted to, if you have? What have you embraced? And what have you maybe learned that has now propelled you in an interesting direction? Because you have a song with LeAnn Rimes. Can we just start there? And I love it, by the way. So can you talk to us about that?
Yeah. So I feel like I had recession-proofed my business and my model prior to the pandemic. Of course, as a recording artist, I'm supposed to go out, tour, travel, perform live. But when I had kids, I decided I don't want to always be on the road. I'm only going to do the private gigs, and I'll figure out ways to reward and share moments with my fans if I'm not doing like headline touring. And part of that decision also led me to doing more sync. Like, this is one way that I could have income coming in, and if I get really good at making the right kind of songs and continuing this relationship with the music supervisor community, then I won't have to be on the road all the time. And so since then, I've decided, you know, if I'm at home and doing virtual concerts, let's figure out a way to educate my band on how to get into the sync game, all my musician friends, so that they're not just waiting for the next gig, because there's no physical gigs. It's all virtual, and who knows when the next virtual gig is going to come up. Mm-hmm. And so I've been putting together, you know, conversations with them about how we can all work together. I have an awesome opportunity where I've got the relationships. If they make the right track and we write the right theme, we can, you know, 50-50 chance better than a zero chance that we'll sync. And aside from that, just looking forward, you know, to the future, thinking about how to memorialize songwriting with this new era. I think this is probably getting to into your next question, but memorialize your songwriting in the digital era. We're using the blockchain so that there's a digital stamp that everyone can see right away, and whatever you've written and created is yours. And it can never be taken away because it's distributed across 1 million hard drives across the world, you know?
But can you talk really fast though? How has that worked out with Zoom and latency? It was in Variety recently about songwriters, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, like a lot of people are just wish they were in the room together."
Songwriting for me, I love it because I get to be home in my own comfort. The way that I like to write songs is like lyric and melody first. It's not about, you know, making a beat. Sometimes, you know, you need the right kind of beat or instrumentation to drive the theme and the songwriting. But for me, I'm all about, if you don't have a good song, it doesn't matter what beat you put on it, it's only going to last about a week. You write a good song, you can put any instrumentation. You can make a salsa, a reggae, a rock version. You can make any, you can put it in any style. So because we're working mainly on lyric and melody through the virtual space, it's really easy. And then as we create different parts in our respective digital audio workspaces, we can print MP3s, pass them through the chat or WhatsApp or email. I download the MP3, I put it into my Logic program, I record a quick vocal, I send that vocal back, and it's not as seamless as when we're in the studio together, but it also documents every single piece of the process. And you cannot deny that I created this piece because here's my recording of it, or here's my text message of it at this time, at this date. You know what I mean? I think it's kind of beautiful.
Wow. Wow. Well, there's a vote for, I don't want to see nobody in person. I don't blame you. Okay, well, that's great. Butter, Lisa, who wants to speak to this before we get to the very last question? Where, you know, where's the creative juices and what's going on now that it's a coming out of a pandemic kind of thing? What are you guys seeing in publishing? I know the streaming is up, like you said, Butter, but how does that really equate financially? And like you said, Aloe, like the artist, you got to pivot, you know, because streaming is paying X amount of dollars, right? So who wants to talk first about where you guys are creatively and what you're seeing as the transition right now with publishing?
Well, I've been telling my songwriters to push it now. Like if you play guitar, learn how to play keyboards. If you did beats, learn how to write lyric and melody. If you're a rapper, now try to write lyric, try to write a song. I've been asking them to do that more often. Yeah, there's been less sessions that I've been getting my writers into. So that allows them to now hopefully revamp. I tell them also to re-listen to all of their songs and see if they can improve them in any way before moving forward. I also told them to creatively creatively just put records out and see what happens and get some real feedback on them. But during this pandemic too, it has been a process of everyone just uploading, like I just said, and which is doing very well, and earnings is there. And that's pretty much it on my side.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. I have to give you an applause because not too many people will say if you're playing guitar, go learn the piano, or if you're just producing the beats. Like that is okay. Now y'all see why we did this. That is like blowing my mind. You rarely get to seriously. As an artist, I'm still an artist. I've never heard anyone say, well, outside of Prince, but I've never heard anyone say like, yo, expand yourself, like try yourself by yourself kind of thing. That's amazing. So round of applause to you on that. Lisa, do you want to say as we round this up before the last question, and Aloe kind of touched on Bitcoin, so that's the final question, but I want to hear what are you doing creatively, maybe different to get some more momentum for your catalog? Because by the way, you guys, Lisa represents some strong vintage catalog.
Yes, she does.
Yeah, I literally am jamming over here. Biz Markie, Big Daddy Kane, Brownstone. I mean, I'm like, I have found a friend. You've had a friend in me.
Yay.
Lisa represents a strong catalog. So tell us where you guys are creatively and what you may be telling your artists, like Mr. McLean said.
Well, yeah, I do think that, I mean, the word of the past year is pivot. And I think that the most successful people are able to pivot. I can't imagine what it's like being a creator, an artist or a writer, and going through this and doing Zoom sessions and stuff. But as my version of creative, which is like just staying in touch with people, keeping my relationships strong, making sure that all of my music is accessible and I'm accessible to people. One of the ways that I pivoted was like by doing Zoom lunches. I mean, I work from home, so I'm comfortable here. I could do my job all day long, no problem. But normally I go to LA like once a month or so. And so obviously with no traveling, I miss my people. And I would say to my supervisors, like, I'll send you a Grubhub card. Let's have lunch together. So then I'm like making a salad and we're having lunches. And so we're able to still do the same kind of catching up that we would have done. And sometimes it was about music and it was like, okay, we just signed, we signed Dave Wakeling. So now we have the beat. And sometimes it was 100% personal. And we were talking about like, are you out of paper towels? Like, how are your kids? What happened? Why is your dog barking so much? Like, it can be all personal or all business or somewhere in between. But the main thing for me was pivoting and not being shut down by the fact that I couldn't travel or by the fact that our writers are like freaking out because they couldn't tour. It's all about like, maybe can you get into your studio and do some covers? Cover Cheap Trick song, man. We have Cheap Trick. Cover Shadows of the Night by Pat Benatar. Sing your lungs off. Like, what can we do to support them? And what can I do to keep keep us top of mind for supervisors that are also just trying to manage all of this stuff too.
Oh my gosh, I cannot say thank you guys enough. But before we go, I wanted, Aloe, do you want to continue to talk about the Bitcoin? Can you expound on it a little bit more from the artist perspective? And then Lisa and Al, can you guys chime in on the rise of Bitcoin? Have you guys been doing anything with it in publishing? And if so, can you explain how an artist on your roster or not on your roster can start from the ground up, like you guys said? Aloe, can you start there? And then we're wrapping it up.
Yeah. So Bitcoin is just one of many forms of fiat or money on the blockchain. The blockchain has a lot of different utilities other than just trading value. And there are other kinds of tools on the blockchain that can do different things like smart contracts and this new era of NFT art, non-fungible token art, where you're actually buying basically a certificate of authentication for the artwork that you've created. Now, Bitcoin is growing. It is one of the most massive and most believed in and there's a lot of faith subscribed into Bitcoin, and I believe it's here to stay. And what I am looking forward to is the day when not just Bitcoin but other kinds of blockchain tools like Ethereum and other coins that have utility, like smart contracts. So, for instance, you go into a studio with your collaborators, you're writing songs together. You can memorialize your song in a smart contract that will live on the blockchain forever, that no one can ever say is any different. And that in that smart contract, it will dictate who wrote what your percentage split is, and how any disputes or whatever can be mitigated. It's really interesting. It's a beautiful new existence. And I encourage everyone to learn as much as they can about it now, because it is complicated. But once you get your head around it, you'll be that much ahead of the curve. Bitcoin is at $60,000 right now for one Bitcoin. You can buy portions of Bitcoins called Satoshis, which are like, quote unquote, from $1 to a cent, if you want to use that analogy. But it is, if everybody's believing in it, and currency is faith-based anyway, then it may be something to jump in and just grab a little bit of Satoshis or grab a Bitcoin if you have enough money to do it.
So once again, I'm doing this because Aloe Blacc is just I'm like trying to like, if I had Botox, I would just shoot like my eyes back, child, because he's an artist who's accomplished so much, but his education level is just like bar none. If I just have to pause right there, to all artists, if you could take a lesson from any artist today, it would be Aloe Blacc. And I'm saying that because he's not only accomplished, but he's very well versed, very educated, enlightened, and he's applying everything that he's saying. So I just have to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you for that, for just that, because you already have me writing notes. So you're educating me. So so before we go, Lisa or Al, have you guys, I know, listen, my notes are right here. Do you guys have any feedback on what Aloe is saying? Have you guys dabbed into it yourselves or what?
I would go, I have one quick sentence, which is, we're not there yet, comma, we are still trying to receive and send all of our payments electronically. Sometimes we're still dealing with checks. So we are behind. We're not as smart as Aloe Blacc, that's for sure. So I hope we'll get there, but we are currently not there as of this moment.
It looks like you might be getting him for an advisor over there at MOJO Music. So
Right.
That's what I need. I need that. Thank you.
Butter, what did you have to say?
Well, being at Empire now, we're starting to start that process. So as Worldwide Creative for publishing, we're starting that process on IDing contract to revenue for each of the writers that we have. But with songsplits.com, the company that I started and founded a couple years ago, we have definitely moved in that direction where we, after the negotiation of a split between the songwriters, we then register the song, and then that license is then blockchained to our administration division. So if a writer does not have an administration deal or a collection deal, when they upload any of their music, any revenue that's returned will then be blockchained into our system and paid out perfectly to all the songwriters and the publishers.
That's
so
amazing.
We made that step. I've also been, the company Songsplits has also been invested in by Google Ventures and their blockchain division. So it's definitely, we're definitely moving down that lane, Aloe. We might need you, baby.
I cannot say thank you guys so much. I feel like it could be a part 2, part 3, part 4. I know Aloe has been working on some more things like this in regards to publishing. I am just so grateful for you guys being a part of this and being so honest and telling the truth. I don't know if you have any last words to say before we sign off. If you do, just let me know. But I have to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys for talking so candidly about Sync. I'm proud of all of you guys. I mean, like I was able to get all of you guys on one call. But I have to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Aloe Blacc, Lisa Macy, Al McLean, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you guys so much. And I hope to see you guys soon in person where I can hug you COVID style.
Thank you.
You know, I didn't know, Aloe, that was you when I signed Michael, Leon, and
oh yeah, L. Michaels.
Yeah, L. Michaels. Yeah. He was doing their sampler.
So you signed them, and then I went to go work with them. Yeah,
correct. I signed
that Rock Boys joint was a big joint.
Huge.
So wait, have you guys ever met real fast?
I never met him. But
wow.
The production team he was working with, I was working with.
Yeah.
And one of the guys turned out to be a great sync guy. So
now I'm at Cobalt, and yeah, it's good there. It's good.
And it turned around. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
switched.
Now he went to Cobalt. Yeah. So.
And now he's at Cobalt, and you're at Empire.
Yeah. But he was there for a while.
Okay.
But we've been working on getting them for a little bit. You guys are amazing.
No?
Beat me to it. No, I want to say thank you so much, Ashley. And thank you, fellas. This is amazing. And I've never done a panel before. So I can't believe that I lived through this one. So thank you for for being awesome. And I learned a lot too. So I really appreciate you. And Ashley, of all people, I mean, I can't even right now with you. So thank you so much.
Right.
No, thank you guys. Well, congratulations, Aloe. I cannot say how honored I am as a Trojanite to say I have a fellow Trojan doing amazing things. Lisa, you're representing amazing catalog, and she is a go-getter, y'all. If y'all wanted to learn how a woman is pushing her catalog, Lisa is that lady. And Al McLean, he's going to give it to you raw, no chasers. So I just want to say thank y'all so much.
That's good. Lisa, I might have to cover some of the catalog. We can work together on some things.
The answer is yes, please.
Okay.
Oh, how cool. I'll make sure you guys have all each other's information.
Yes.
You can keep me out of the loop, literally. And Lisa, I think I'm going to have to do that too. Aloe, we should probably do a song. I think it's over.
Yes,
maybe.
100%. We should definitely do a song. Oh my gosh. Okay, to be continued.
Can Empire distribute it?
I don't know. Listen, Aloe is the one that had, Aloe is the Aloe's on Cobalt. You can't do that competition now.
No, he's talking about the master. He's talking about
the master.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, let's go. This is a good one.
Take care, y'all.
Bye. Thank you.
Guys.
Bye.
Bye.